incorporate the fact that we're assessing that, but us giving that list as part of understanding what that action is, that's never been the process.
Maybe Madam Auditor-elect has an answer to that question, I don't know.
I don't at this time, no.
Okay.
But I don't think, I mean, you can go back, I don't know how many auditors, it's not just the current administration. I'm talking about back when Irene Doyle was there, when Pete Etherburn was there, I mean, going back to the beginning, that has never been, you know, the filing. It might be a file that's in, say, the auditor's office, and that's one of the resultants of the resolution we do when we approve the budget and apportion or order the 1% tax to be collected. It's all inherent to that. Itemization of that part of it has never been provided to the board.
Jim, how about if you look back before OCD, I mean, DWR used to carry this function.
Right.
Correct.
And we paid, on our title, the same thing, we paid 8 tax through them.
It was the exact same process.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, we never received a paper for us to be approved.
DWR would send a paper, but it would be on file with the auditor. It never, you know, I mean, the board was aware that maybe there was.
It's not something that comes on our agenda and we approve.
No. I don't think that's ever been the case.
Well, suffice to say, a properly certified budget must at least be presented to the auditor each year by the date certain, and then passed upon by this board and approved.
When we
But
had
it
this
is-
dispute in 2011, the auditor at that time certified that she had received it within the time frame
Yes.
and she acted accordingly. And I believe consistently over the years that they have asserted that.
Okay.
She received it in time, yes, but the court or none of us did,
Or the board,
or the board,
yeah.
and yet they still withdrew the money.
But she operated on the premise, irrespective of whether or not the others received it, she did, as long as she had it in her office by that date, when she put the roll together, it was incorporated.
It appears that's what the statute
And that's
says.
what the statute says for her to do, and she says that's what she's going to do, unless the court tells her otherwise. And that's been kind of where we've been at.
You know, I think this problem might well be solved if, and perhaps this is an unpopular remark, but if the RCD was more proactive in improving their budget in a timely basis, in notifying its users on a timely basis, and effectively across the board with all the users that are affected, which is all of them. I'm, based on some previous interactions I've had, I'm left with the opinion that doesn't, I'm going to understate here, always happen. And so that's regrettable. I don't know that necessarily we would be here if that communication was better.
Okay, yes, come up and state your name for the recorder, please.
My name is John Richards. I'm the president of Lassen Irrigation Company and a District 5 resident. I'm also speaking as a landowner and an individual. Lassen Irrigation Company, 3 years in a row, did protest to the court, but since it does not go on Lassen Irrigation Company's tax rolls, the court would not hear the case, and therefore you were our final destination for letters that went to the court. They were CC'd to the board in the past, CC'd to the district attorney, to the past county administrators. We've asked for relief. We've asked for help, and I'm not an attorney. Mr. Burns, can you explain to me the difference between a fee and a tax?
Now, that's a whole conversation, the likes of which I don't even know that I'm educated enough to respond to. This, I believe, would be fairly considered a fee. I don't know for the average person there's much of a difference. It's still money going out of pocket.
Mr. Burns is incredibly educated, and I think he's too hard on himself. But quite frankly, I believe that when the money comes in, and we pay for a service, we do not pay for our water. We pay for a service. The service says that you're going to take our money, and in lieu of that, you're going to do certain things in a timely manner, and you're going to do them in open session. And you're going to put it in a budget of sorts, and you're going to follow the budget. That, in fact, hasn't happened. And at some point, those fees then became taxes. This board doesn't have the right to assess taxes on us as individuals, only fees. As a user of water and the water service, we do not have the ability to be taxed. What does that mean? To me, for the last 6 years, there hasn't been an audit, there hasn't been an approved budget 5 or 6 of the years in a timely manner. And many people in this room have said, in our help, in our request for relief, have said you have to go to the courts. And we have, and we're there currently. And when somebody sends out a document or says something illegal, if Mr. Chapman would say something that was a blatant lie in this open session, Mr. Burns, is that a felony that he would blatantly lie about something in an open session as a public official?
I don't know, Mr. Richards.
Financially.
I don't know that I'm inclined to answer in that fashion. Thank you.
Okay. So if you have people who know something is not right, a tax versus a fee, timelines that are not met, and then quite a few excuses, it would seem to me that if past practices, and there's going to be an audit coming your way soon, and I respectfully request you see the last year's audit before you make your decision. But I personally believe that we have been taxed, and I believe that you gentlemen as a board do not have the right to tax us. And that is the rub. It says you shall levy fees, but you don't get to tax us. And that is what's taking place. And therefore, since we are aware that it is a very, very fine line between taxes and fees, we may want to get an opinion on that. We also may want to get an opinion where it comes to the utilization of the money in the Jarvis GAN when it comes to totals that are available to us. Why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up because there's 500 special districts in our area, 300? Ballpark. It's over 100. So this district is in the top 1% of egregious financial mismanagement in our county. And that's why we're here to discuss it. We're not here to discuss schools because they get audited twice a year. And if there's an issue, everybody knows. And we're not here to discuss a hospital board. We're here to discuss something that happened in 2007. And since everything has slipped through the cracks in regards to finances, I truly believe that in this year, we should stop the madness. We should not pass this tax. We should not allow the past practices to be ignored and say we might do better in the future in the name of a fee. And I would respectfully request that you look at their audit before we go forward. That would be my hope as a representative of 90 people who, just like me, didn't have a voice with the court, who had you folks as our one and only hope to make this RCD board do what they're supposed to do in addition to our written mandate. Is there any questions that I can answer? Or?
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Yeah, please step forward and state your name for the record.
My name is John Mallory. I'm a Lassen Creek water user. Currently, we as water users, under the Susan River Decree, do not pay for the water we use. The water does not actually belong to the users. It belongs to the state. The beginning of the state water code creates this authority by laying claim to all the waters of the state, and it merely allows people to use the water according to its foregoing rules. I learned this fact 7 years ago during the Big Pine fire. I have a 10-acre-foot stock pond on my property, and in the course of 3 hours, 3 helicopters were able to pull out over 200 buckets of water from this pond. Their actions saved over 40 structures in the fire's path. When I inquired to CDF about my missing water, I was informed it was the state's water all along. No thank yous, no apologies. In the past 10 years, this pond has been utilized by helicopters in 5 fire suppression efforts. With that being said, what we do pay for is service, whether or not we receive this water. This service is responsible for administering our local decrees and upholding the 4000 series of the California State Water Code. In 2007, our local court gave this authority to the Honey Lake Valley RCD. The RCD has found it very difficult to comply with the rules associated with their new responsibilities and has continually shown an unwillingness to comply with the water code, their own rules and regulations, and our decrees. For the last 4 years, I have tried to compel the Water Master Board to comply with their budget apportionment requirements under the State Water Code and under our own decree. As an outsider, I have not been very successful. Every year since 2007, some portion of the process has been flawed in various degrees. This year, the users were served with a budget and the assessment, but it failed to contain the apportionment as required by our own decree. When I inquired to the Water Board at their June 25th meeting where my apportionment was, Mr. Willis Dow informed me I would see it on my tax bill. This denies any water user the ability to ascertain if their water assessment is correct. Once you as the Board of Supervisors approve the tax roll next month, it is too late to fix any problems. Notifying water users of their individual assessments is also necessary for financial planning. As you can see from the graph I provided, my apportionment for the past 6 years has fluctuated up or down 100% from year to year. Up to 100%, excuse me. I only represent a 2.7 CSF share of the water apportionment. There are water users with over a 30 CSF water share. The Honey Lake Valley RCD has created a culture of not following the rules. It is my hopes that you can deny their ability to utilize the tax rolls until they are willing to comply with the rules. This would force them to send out water master fees themselves, and thus give the users the avenue to protest the fees if incorrect. If you are not able to do this, I ask that you please write a letter admonishing the Water Board for not following their own water assessment process. Are there any questions?
No questions, but I understand all you guys' frustrations. It's pathetic, you know, what in my opinion. I've attended some of those meetings, I've seen some of the arguments, I've seen the way the meetings are run. It's chaos, and it's disgraceful as far as I'm concerned about the way they're not following through with what they're supposed to.
They've created a culture of not wanting to follow rules.
It's just, it's beyond, it's just disgusting.
It's frustrating. Thank you.
And Don, I would like to thank you. That was probably the most articulated narrative on what a water master's water fees, and except for the first part of your letter. That was very well articulated, very well explained, and thank you for that. It was very
Thank you, Mr. Outlaw.
Okay, anyone else from the public would like to speak on the matter? Come on up and just state your name for the recorder.
Still representing now. Thank you. My name is Barbara White, I'm a water user. I do volunteer work for the RCD's reporting process. The assessment that you're talking about, that's been a bone of contention for all the 4 years that I've been involved in this. The RCD took on the duty in 2007, and the court order says you shall enforce the decrees, all of them, all 3 of them, and not just portions of them, and you shall enforce the water code. Quite simply, that's what they're empowered to do. The water code is real specific in how fees are done. 4251, 4252, and 4253, 4254, and how it's assessed. And those are available online. A couple of years ago, this manner of assessment thing came up, whether or not the budget, which is usually done in a timely manner by RCD, is is the assessment. And we checked with DWR, and their process was not to send out individual assessments. They send out a blanket letter to all the water users to let them know what the budget is for that year. And that is suffice. They said they tried the individual assessments once and it was chaos, just like this was last year when they tried the individual things. You're right about the timelines. They're kind of a mess. And the ownerships, to get a correct mailing, first of all, you need to have the ownerships correct. You need to address lot splits. And over the last few years, we've learned that prior lot splits have not been addressed in the control cards, which is like the master billing thing. And the control cards need to be transferred, the ownerships need to be transferred onto Excel billing reports and usage reports, so they need to match so that everybody gets the right bill, right? It's not, the bill is not on a service. Per the control cards, you're billed on the CFS that's allotted to your property. And that's real plain, those are public records. You're billed on whatever your CFS is. All the other stuff about process is probably because since 2007 there hasn't been a clear process. When Jeff and I started this thing, there was no clear how to. We had to kind of back up and figure everything out. And yes, the August 10th is the deadline to get it to the auditor's office. Before that, the RCD has to adopt their budget by the 15th. Somewhere along the line, so that you get the correct mailing on the billing reports, you have to go update the control cards and address the lot splits. There needs to be a deadline moved up on that. And perhaps we need to have a real clear process for the RCD with all these deadlines that work. Because by now, Jeff has worked with the assessor's office, and they've constructed a process whereby from the control cards that he was handed, they've tagged water right parcels. So now they can do a report every year and say, okay, these are the water right parcels. Out of all of them, these 13 have changed ownerships. And maybe these 2 have lot splits. Now in those lot splits, you create another control card, because now there's 2 where there was 1. And then he has to go out there in the field process and say, okay, where did the water rights go? Do they stay with all the parcels as one omitted? And so that has to be transferred on the control cards. It's a harrowing process trying to keep the accuracy. And over the last 4 years, we finally, with the help of the assessor's office, we finally got it pretty clean. Last year, we paid the assessor's office extra to go back and do all the things that had been omitted since 2007. When DWR did the process before it was handed off, they hired the assessor's office to update the control cards. And so when RCD took it on, they just kind of handed all this process to the deputy of the day, whoever they hired in the contract. And so I'm suggesting at this point to the RCD, and I hope it's put on the next agenda, that they take their paperwork process internally as the water master, be responsible for the control cards, make sure they're updated, give the lot splits to your deputies so he can tell you which ones have a water right. Be responsible for the billing report so that you know you have, it's an Excel thing, so that you know all the right people are being billed, et cetera, et cetera. Take it internally. The deputy would still do the 2-page judge's letter and the monthly field notes. So first of all, we need a clear dateline process, and everything's cleaned up now, so it's easier. All we need to do is go back and say, okay, you need this by then. You've decided, yes, you want to do the apportionment to the individuals instead of a blanket budget. Okay, then you need to back up all the deadlines and make time for that. Because before you can do that, you have to check all the control cards with the assessor and make sure you got all the people right, you know? So it's just a paper process. It is not it just hasn't been clarified and solidified. And there's been just a whole mess of bifurcation. I've been to these meetings for the last 4 years. There's been a whole mess of bifurcation and negative stuff thrown around when the time should have been spent on this forward motion. They've been having to deal with a whole lot of dirt that really had no point. And some of the water users have a complaint that, well, you're not doing anything for me, like, and I brought this up, it's hopefully an agenda item. Why doesn't RCD take on common water area issues just like DWR used to? Like in the archives that were handed off to Jeff, there was a really nice process for part of Baxter Creek that they were going to help them put together because there's a sand hole in Baxter Creek. You can't get water past it. And we've asked a couple times. So now, I'm sorry I'm boring you, but you know all this stuff. Now maybe we can move forward and get a clear process, clear deadlines, clear who's doing what. So as this thing is passed around, it's not messed up constantly. Because it's clean now. We just need some timelines to adhere to.
Barbara, I just want to, I don't mean to cut you, but we hear you. Unfortunately, you're preaching to the choir, really. We understand, we feel that those comments do, hopefully, do get on the agenda. And those are the things that the RCD as a board needs to take to heart and fix. And, it's something I think if we have the opportunity as this board, we would certainly implement decisions, but it just seems like the cries for help, they're falling on deaf ears there. I don't know. Again, I understand and share your frustration, but.
Yeah, it's a real clean, simple process.
Mr. Burns?
Thank you. I have a question. Ms. White, is it?
Yes.
Thank you. Are you here today on behalf of the RCD board?
No, I'm here as a water user because
Okay.
I pay water rights too.
Okay.
I just happen to be familiar with the paperwork because I do it every year on a volunteer basis.
So you're not speaking on behalf of the RCD
Absolutely
board
not.
here today?
I'm
Okay. I just
speaking
wanted
as
to
a
make
water
sure.
user, and anybody that wants to look at these reports or learn this process, it's all public record.
So was there a budget approved by the RCD by June 1 of this year for this coming year? Do you know?
We have a budget, yeah, because we have to
But-
put it into the usage reports.
But was there one approved by the RCD board by
Yes.
June 1? There was?
Yes, because
Okay.
the secretary sent me, to do the billing reports, you have to put it into this Excel formulated sheet. And she has to provide the minutes approving that, to submit it to the auditor.
And so that was done
By
before
August 10th.
June 1?
I don't know.
You
We
don't?
have a RCD board member we could maybe ask.
Perhaps.
Do you know the answer to that?
I didn't know if anybody was going to present themselves on behalf of the RCD board today, on behalf of the board.
Jesse is a member.
Do you know if the budget was approved by June 1?
I'm not sure if it was or not.
Is it, you would know though, wouldn't you, as a board member? Don't you vote on that?
If I missed a meeting in May, end of May. So I don't know if it was at that meeting or not.
Let me ask another question, if I may. Were the users were notified by June 15 of the budget for the year? Do you know?
They sent out a generic, a letter to all the water users,
Was that the $130,000 number?
the whole
Okay.
budget,
But
correct?
no apportionment was included in that, was it?
The prior year, they did an apportionment thing, and there was all kinds of craziness. And
But
so
they're
we-
obligated to set an apportionment, aren't they?
But see, that's a
By
different
court order.
interpretation.
Oh, no,
Because-
it's actually quite plain on the black letter of the court decree, isn't it?
I really don't know.
Have you read it? Have you read it?
Okay, I'm the enemy here.
No, I was
At
just
the
asking a
time-
question.
At the time, we asked DWR,
Uh-huh.
because last year, the individual apportionments were sent out. The prior years, all the prior years, there was sent out a budget, and that's what DWR did. And we asked DWR when this issue came up, Mr. Mallory brought it up. And they said, no, we send out the budget generically. We don't send out individuals, and that's the way we've been doing the thing.
Okay.
And again, that's process, is that gonna be a clear process? Then we have to move the dates around to get everything updated. And chuckles like this that bifurcate the process.
I'm sorry
I
if my
no.
questions were a little aggressive, I apologize.
Well, no, it's
I'm
the
trying to figure it
giggles
out.
back here have been the giggles all through these last few years.
Thanks.
Anyway,
I appreciate it very much. So, okay, is there anyone else?
Jesse Claypool, Tenellic Valley RCD. I'm a member of the RCD board, but I'm not here representing the board. I just found out from county council this morning that our staff requested that this be postponed on the agenda, so I didn't know that.
You weren't told of that, sir?
No. This agenda item to me seems pretty straightforward. The RCD is a special district that has the ability to levy an assessment. It doesn't matter if it's water, wire and cable, or tangerines. We have an obligation to do it in a very specific, identified manner. We haven't been doing that. We've been requested by county officials, members of the public, former board members of the RCD, current board members of the RCD to do it. And for some unknown reason, we're having troubles. And the cries for help have fallen on deaf ears everywhere. And I don't think that it's necessarily this body's responsibility to make the RCD act like grown-ups. But it kind of is. This board sent a notice out to the RCD requesting that they go to board member workshops. To date, I'm the only board member that's ever been to a board member workshop. The rest of them thumbed their nose at you. The grand jury, on your behalf, has sent letters to the RCD about your ethics trainings that's required. Board policies, you have to follow them. And nothing's happened. So, as a board member, I feel the frustration of everybody in this room also. What do we do? Where do we go for help? I agree with some of the comments that were made that this is a money issue. And you've heard me say this to you guys before. This is money. We've got money issues with the RCD. And I would hope too that the audit that is being prepared is done and be able to get to you guys before the timeline, before the August 10th timeline. Because that is hand in hand with this. If we don't have the history of good accounting practices, how can we move forward with good cash management practices and billing practices? We can't. So that's my ramble.
Thanks, Jesse. Thanks. And I know you were somebody that, wanted my votes for appointees, and I appreciate, what you've been trying to do there. I know it hasn't been easy, and it's frustrating, and, but anyhow, for what it's worth, I appreciate what you're trying to do, and the fact that you were the only one that went to the training of the board, which you suggested, so thank you. I think we better try to wrap this up.
One quick note.
Sure.
And that is that I'm informed by Mr. Egan that he sent an invitation to the board members from the RCD to attend, and we have one in attendance. And I'm thinking it's not the one that needs to be here. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll leave it to county council. What do you, we basically, the action requested was to receive the report. We certainly
Correct.
done that, and.
I don't think there's any action for you to take at this point. There was
Right.
certainly none noticed. I think that the auditor will do what the auditor does come tax time, and we will hear from her as to whether or not it has been properly presented or not. And if it, and it will be on this board's agenda for adoption or not, and when the county taxes are levied, and we'll have an opportunity to address it at that time.
Could I make a suggestion, Richard, that to separate this out so that it stands out, it's not blended in, when it comes to the budget, if you would please?
Makes good sense.
Okay, so I think we've finished on this item. Okay, so, thank you. All right, let's,
Mr. Chairman?
yes.
Comments have been taken.
Losing people here.
Oh, wait, all right, thanks, okay. Mr. Pazuli, I apologize for that, but we're gonna resume with item H2.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we were at the point there.